Recorded by the host or a participant. This meeting is recorded.
Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, June 8th, 2023. This is the Clear Lake Virtual Lions Club member orientation. Thank you all so much for coming this evening. And I will turn it over to David Anderson to start the orientation.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm
Doing
doing
good.
well, thanks. Awesome.
Okay.
Doing good.
Good. Well, tonight, it's going to be kind of informal. Certainly feel free to ask questions as we're going along. We don't want to be here just listening to me, Roger, and B blather on. If there's anything specific that you want covered that we don't hit, let us know. Doing a full Lions Club International orientation like this, we typically get it wrapped up in somewhere between 8 and 24 hours. So I hope you guys had a good dinner. But orientation is typically broken out into 4 different sections. So tonight we'll be going over who Lions are. We'll be discussing the Clear Lake Lions Club specifically. We'll talk about the district and multiple district, and then Lions Club International. So those are kind of the main ones. We'll try and make some sense of the alphabet soup that you guys hear from time to time with all the acronyms and stuff like that. So, who are Lions? Does anybody have an idea who Lions are? You guys have been Lions for a little bit, so.
Yeah, Lions are people that they serve in their community and they help people out.
David, are you reading my slides here? Because you pretty much nailed that verbatim.
No, I'm not, David.
Lions are men and women dedicated to serving those in need, whether in their own community or around the world. And so David was exactly right. It's all about service. And, you hear a lot about the different sections of Lions. So you have the membership, the leadership, and the service teams. And I would argue before anybody, including God himself, that the service is the most important, because that's what it's about, serving others. And you'll hear, various slogans such as where there's a need, there's a lion. And that's very true. So as we look at the organization as a whole, there's over 1.4 million members. We're in more than 200 countries. And there's more than 48,000 clubs. And, one of the things you just want to be cautious of as you're talking about Lions is you don't want to necessarily lead with we're in 200 countries, more than 48,000 clubs, and start talking about Lions in Zimbabwe. Because if you do, you may lose track of the people that you're trying to interact with, because people want to make a difference in their community. And that's not to say that, they don't care about those other folks, but certainly, you want to make an impact at home. The 1.4 million members, that seems to be kind of a ceiling for us. If you go back to 1973, that's when Lions Club hit 1 million members. And so if you just kind of do the math, we have not been blessed with the tremendous amount of growth. And largely, this is just a David observation, as most things you're going to hear tonight are. So, when you look at it, the general composition of most clubs are older individuals. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But if you are not replacing your members and getting younger members as they're dying or going out the back door, we don't necessarily see that growth. So, as we look specifically to your club, currently we have 28 members. We lost a couple as we got going here, but we've also picked some up. So, you guys are certainly doing the right thing. As we began the year, We had 25. We've added 5 and we lost 2. So that's how we get to the 28.
Mm.
Let's see
Oh,
here.
David,
Yes, sir.
I just heard recently that there is going to be a program to try to reach 1.5. It's got a name, but Lions
Okay.
is putting a big push on membership to try to get to 1.5.
Yeah. And you know, the way that you are going to grow your club, the way that Lions in general are going to grow is just like I said, it's all about service. So, you know, there are a couple days in a Lions journey. There's the date that you're inducted and you become a member. And then there's the date that you become a Lion. And those are 2 different dates, in my opinion. Anybody can be asked to join Lions. They can join, they can pay their dues and not really be part of the service that goes on. The day that you become a Lion, I would argue most often it's involving a service event. And so the first time that you're doing a club project and you have someone come up and thank you for being a Lion, and they talk about how Lions changed or impacted their life or some of their family, that's what makes you a Lion. When you see the impact that you're doing, whether it's ice screening for kids or, you know, donating to a food shelter or things like that, that's really when you become the Lion and you buy more into what we do. Does anybody know what the vision statement is?
Not really.
All right, good. Well, I was waiting for someone to say no, David. That's why we're here.
No, I don't.
Yeah. So the vision statement is to be the global leader in community and humanitarian service. I bet you if you memorize that and you hit lines with it, you could bet them like $1 and you'd wind up with lots of dollars, because that's just something that we don't talk about. But again, you hear the reference to service. I will spare you guys the no, I don't know, David, and I'll share the mission statement with you. So the mission statement is to power volunteers to serve their communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions clubs. So, you know, you're looking there and we're talking about needs and peace. And again, you've got that service in there. We'll give you guys a easier one. Does anybody know what our motto is?
We serve.
David, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna have to have Lindsay put you on mute because you're stealing all the thunder here. But yeah,
I've been
yes.
around
He's
Lions
got all
for
the
a little bit.
answers.
Yeah,
and
no,
I've benefited from them.
I might put myself on mute, David, and just let you go from here on out. But no,
What do you expect? He has your name.
yeah, it's right. Great name, you know. So yeah, we serve as our motto. Our slogan, this is another toughie, so I'll share it with you. It's liberty, intelligence, and our nation's safety. Our purposes are Lions Club International has a list of purposes to convey why Lions Club exists. And then our code of ethics, we have a code of ethics which set the standard that Lions should aspire to. And, you know, the code of ethics is aspirational. It's things that we try to live up to. You know, no clubs are perfect there, but certainly it's one of those things where if you have not taken the time to read our code of ethics or to read let me find it here. Thought I had it. Yeah, if you haven't read our purposes or our code of ethics, you do want to read them. I will go over our code of ethics and the purposes here real quickly, just so that you guys are somewhat familiar with it. But you are going to want to take some time and really dig into this and see what they mean. So our purposes are to organize, charter, and supervise service clubs to be known as Lions clubs, to coordinate the activities and standardize the administration of Lions clubs, to create and foster a spirit of understanding among the people of the world, to promote the principles of good government and good citizenship, to take an active interest in civic, cultural, social, and moral welfare of the community, to unite clubs in the bonds of friendship, good fellowship, and mutual understanding, to provide a forum for open discussion of all matters of public interest, provided, however, that partisan politics and sectarian religion shall not be debated by club members, to encourage service-minded people to serve their community without personal financial reward, and to encourage efficiency and promote high ethical standards in commerce, industry, professions, public works, and private endeavors. So pretty straightforward, as you run through there, the things that I would call attention to. It's talking about service. And really, if you look at the things it's telling you not to do, it's telling you to avoid conflicts of interest. It's telling you to avoid, things that are very personable and a highly charged subject. So, I mean, anytime you're getting into politics or religion, there's really no in between. And so you don't want to offend people. The code of ethics is to show my faith in the worthiness of my vocation by industrious application to the end that I may merit a reputation for quality of service, to seek success and demand all fair remuneration or profit as my just due, but to accept no profit or success at the price of my own self-respect, lost because of unfair advantage taken or because of questionable acts on my part, to remember that in my building upon my business, it is not necessary to tear down another, to be loyal to my clients or my customers and true to myself. Whenever a doubt arises as to the right or ethics of my position or action towards others, to resolve such doubt against myself, to hold friendships as an end to hold friendships as an end and not a means, to hold that true friendships exist not on account of the service performed by one another, but that true friendship demands nothing but accept service in the spirit in which it is given. Always to bear in mind my obligations as a citizen to my nation, state, and my community, and to give them my unswerving loyalty in word, act, and deed, to give them freely of my time, labor, and means, to aid others by giving my sympathy to those in distress, my aid to the weak, and my substance to the needy, to be careful with my criticism and liberal with praise, to build up and not destroy. Does anybody care to share kind of what you came away with after hearing our purpose and our ethics?
Well, I've always heard that it, was a great service organization and that does, help other people. I don't know a lot about the Lions. The only thing I can say about the Lions is that they've always been good with dealing with our group as visually impaired people by putting on our winter camp. And that's how I got involved in knowing a little bit about the Lions. And I know they are a very, very great organization and they help a lot. But other than that, I really don't know a lot about the Lions. I was going to ask you at a certain point who started the Lions and when was the organization started? Was it back in like maybe 1920 or something like that?
Yeah.
It was started by a guy, his last name was Jones, I believe. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head.
Melvin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 1920s.
Well,
okay.
great question. And thank you for being with us here to learn more about Lions. It is kind of funny that when you look at the orientation, they lead off with things about who we are, and they don't really give you a little bit of history. So we will segue, and I'm not opposed to, breaking from the script here. So let's go back in time. Perhaps not to the beginning of the earth and Adam and Eve, but thereabouts. So Lions was established in 1917 in Chicago, Illinois. And Melvin Jones, as it was recently mentioned, he was kind of the co-founder there. And what it was is it was like a networking group. So Melvin Jones and other business professionals in Chicago wanted to get together to network for business purposes, but also to improve the community. And so that's how Lions Club International got going. You think about what was going on, you know, and there's a world war going on roughly around that time. You've got the Spanish flu coming in. So there's certainly a lot of things that are going on in their world, not too different from what's going on today, which gave them the opportunities to serve. If you go to 1920, does anybody know what happened in 1920?
No.
Was it this? I'm not sure.
Not sure. All right. Well, I'll help you out here. So I'm going to go back a little bit at the beginning, and I asked you what Lions was, and David says it was to serve communities. When people ask me what Lions is, I tell them that we are the farm league, the farm team for the Detroit Lions. And it gets a lot of people's attention, and I tell them that's why the Lions are starting to win football games, is our farm team is finally starting to work and improve. But in all seriousness, the Detroit Lions in 1920 took Lions Club International when they chartered a club in Canada.
Okay.
Now, it was kind of selfish, their reasons for doing that. In the 1920, Prohibition was going strong in the US, and so they were actually going over to Canada and drink. But to make it a little bit more service oriented, they did establish a Lions Club over there. So that's a little bit about the history there. In 1921, our international president from Spring Arbor, his name was Carl Sorick. He was a member of Jackson Host Lions Club. And I will make a shameless plug there for you guys, because that is your host club. And so he became an international president. And May 7th is when Jackson Host came into existence.
Oh, wow.
A little bit of history as we're running through here before we jump back into the program. Does anybody know what happened in 1925?
Helen Keller.
Helen
Came-
Keller. She did.
Came
She became a lion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, she
No,
actually didn't become a lion. Women were not allowed to be lions at the time, but she did charge them with the
Oh, yeah. Now I
What-
remember.
yep became our mission for the first century of service, and that was to be Knights of the Blind in the Crusade Against Darkness.
Right.
Have you guys heard Helen Keller's speech at all?
Yes,
No,
No,
I
I
have not.
haven't.
No.
I have.
All
I
right.
have.
I have.
All right, so we've got a mixed bag. I will share it with you. It's a brief video here, not super long. If you
Okay.
hear it, I'm sure you don't mind hearing it again. I may need to play with the sound a little bit. So I'm gonna hit play. I'll pause it, make sure everybody can hear it. And if everybody says they're good to go, then we'll go ahead and watch it. So give me 1 second here. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, a little
Yes,
loud.
I do.
A
Yeah.
little loud. All right, let me see if I can turn it down a little bit here for you. Dear lions and ladies, I suppose you have heard the legend that represents opportunity as a capricious lady who knocks on every door but once. And if the door isn't open quickly, she passes on, never to return. And that is as it should be. Lovely, desirable
ladies won't wait. You have to go out and grab them. I am your opportunity. I am knocking at your door. I want to be adopted. The legend doesn't say what you are to do when several beautiful opportunities present themselves at the same door. I guess you have to choose the one you love best. I hope you will adopt me. I am the youngest here, and what I offer you is full of splendid opportunities for service. Try to imagine how you would feel if you were suddenly stricken blind today. Picture yourself stumbling and groping at noonday as in the night. Your work, your independence gone. You have heard how from the fingers of another, a ray of light from another soul touched the darkness of my mind, and I found myself, found the world, found God. It is because my teacher learned about me and broke through the dark, silent imprisonment which held me, that I am able to work for myself and others. The opportunity I bring to you, Lions, is this. Will you not help me hasten the day when there will be no preventable blindness, no little deaf blind child untaught, no blind man or woman unaided? I appeal to you, Lions, you who have your sight, you who are strong and kind and brave. Will you not constitute yourselves as knights of the blind in the crusade against darkness? Thank you.
What do you guys think?
It's kind of interesting.
Pretty powerful.
Sure
My
was.
words exactly. Powerful.
Coming
Very.
from someone who was both blind and
Yeah. Now, the thing that's probably most remarkable, if you think about what's going on in the US around that time, do you guys recall when the women's suffrage was?
About the early 20s.
that was around the 1920s.
Right. So the women literally were just able to begin voting. They're facing a lot of adversity themselves, fighting for their rights. And here you are, you have a blind, deaf lady who's addressing a room full of men and telling them what they should do. And if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what does. And, you know, it was powerful enough that that's what they did. They took that up and they moved forward with it. So very remarkable, you know, what she did for our organization. Sticking with our history real quick, we'll run through a little bit more. So 1945, Lions Club, they were invited to assist in the drafting of the United Nations Charter. They were actually one of the only nonprofits that were involved in that. 1957, that's when the Leos were established. Now, do you guys know what Leo stands for?
No, I don't. I know. I thought it was for women, but I don't know what it stands for.
No, I don't, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so Leo is actually our youth program. And so
Oh, okay.
yep, in the US, in 1957, the first Leo Club was founded in Abington, Pennsylvania. In 1964, Leo's Club became an official district project in Pennsylvania. And then in 1967, the Leo program became an official program of the International. And Leo stands for Leadership, Excellence, and Opportunity. And so for the US, you're usually talking about people under 18. Once you're 18, you can become a Lion. Overseas, you can actually be what's called an Alpha Leo, and you have, I believe, until you're 30 to be a Leo. So 1968, the foundation was established. In 1973, the Melvin Jones Fellowship was created. And then, as I had mentioned, 73 was also when we had our 1 millionth member. And then someone had mentioned Helen Keller became a Lion. And actually, women could not join Lions until 1987. And so that's when we welcomed our first women into Lions. Prior to that, they were in a separate segment, kind of like an auxiliary called the Lioness. And don't be disgruntled if you're a woman. Men played hockey for 100 years before they decided that they needed the helmet. So kind of slow adopters on some things, but no, it's certainly been a change for good. Then in 1990, Sight First launched, and that's where Lions have raised more than $351 million to target the major causes of blindness. So that's a little trip down memory lane right there to get us going. So any other quick questions, either about the ethics, our purpose, or any of the history that I ran through?
I have a comment about the ethics and purpose. So what I got that is that Lions are, the purpose is to well, we're volunteers and that we're here to help other people out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and it's much easier for you to have it kind of condensed down into your own words like that. So absolutely, if you know, our purpose is here to serve, and as I've mentioned, that's going to be a recurring theme of the evening and beyond. Whenever you hear me talk, it's always about service, and that's really what we are. We're a service organization, and you know, service comes in different forms. You know, there are some clubs that fundraise and donate back to their community based on, you know, physical impairments or things that may prevent them from doing, you know, building projects or things like that. You have other clubs where, you know, funds may be a little bit scarce, but they get out into their community and they do physical service projects. And so, you know, as a new club, the beauty of all this is you guys are working with an absolutely blank slate. And you get to decide what it is that you're going to focus on, who you're going to help. And, you know, there are the 5 service pillars of Lions that we'll get into a little bit later. But, you know, the nice thing about Lions, does anybody recall what Burger King's slogan is?
Have it your way.
Have it your way. You got it, man. You guys are great. Yeah. So Lions has a program. It's called Your Club Your Way, and that's exactly what it's about. So while we're going over best practices, we're going over international. We are an international organization, and it's important to understand what it is you belong to, but you also have the autonomy within the 28 members of Clear Lake to decide, hey, we want to focus on this, and this is what is near and dear to our hearts. So absolutely. Cool. All right, well, we will continue on in our journey, and if you guys have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask. So who knows what year Clear Lake was chartered?
2022, last year.
2022.
Yeah, there you go. There's a nice little softball for you guys to answer. So June of 2022. And as I mentioned, you guys had 25 members initially. Who sponsored your club?
The Jackson Host Lions Club.
That's right, Jackson Host Lions Club. And that's actually what the host in their name signifies. And so Jackson has a number of clubs: Jackson Eye Openers, Cascades, Host. And the host in the Jackson name signifies that they have chartered additional clubs. And so that is kind of unique. As far as significant awards or achievements earned by your club, you guys are right in history. So you guys just had your charter event at the Winter Camp for the Blind this year. And so, those will be things that you'll be working towards here moving forward. As we look at the officers, so the officers are typically a one-year position, though when you have a new club, oftentimes they'll agree to serve for 2 years. That is something that I know you guys are working at, making sure that you have that succession plan in place. But you've got Phyllis as your president. You've got Bill Miller as your first vice president. Your second vice president is currently vacant. Club secretary is currently vacant. Your club treasurer is Kristen. Your club membership chairperson is Lindsay. Your club service chairperson is Gina. Your club marketing person is Jesse. And then you've got David as your club director. You guys may have additional titles and things like that. Those are the officers that are reported into the international system, and those are the ones that are elected. So you can add hoc to those. We have a tail twister in our club, and her goal is to make the meetings interesting and lively. But that's not necessarily a requirement. So again, when you're looking at how do you keep your members engaged, how do you have fun, look for opportunities. Kind of a motto that I subscribe to, and I encourage others to as well, is I ask everybody to do 3 things: to bring, take, and have. So if you bring a positive attitude, it really makes the most out of any situation. In the military, we often refer to it as embrace the suck. No matter what the situation is, if you dwell on how awful it is, it's just going to get worse. Whereas if you're looking for anything, even no matter how remotely positive it is, it does make it a little bit more tolerable. You want to take initiative. And so if you see something that needs to be done, just do it. Obviously, you don't want to overstep people. And if it's a question or a topic that should go to the board or Phyllis, make sure that you do that. But if it's, you see something that you want to do a fundraiser and nobody's stepping forth, hey, take charge of it. And then the last one is have fun. And if you are not having fun in Lions, or you're not having fun serving others, you're definitely doing it wrong. It should be fun. This should not be viewed as a chore, or you shouldn't dread going to Lions. And I've been to a few of your guys' meetings and events, and certainly you guys get along well, and certainly look for those opportunities. So, all right. I know that the board has a retreat coming up here next month, and looking to kind of establish traditions and kind of figure out more the direction of the club. And those are things that as they're developed, you're going to want to document them and just make sure that things are coming. Election of officers, it's completed annually. The nomination committee is typically appointed in March, and then the nomination committee selects the candidates. The club votes in April, and then the term begins July 1st. So we are getting ready to wrap up the 22-23 Lions year, and we'll be embarking on the 23-24. So, there's a lot of conversation around awards, fellowships, and various recognition things. And, while it's always nice to get some recognition, service in and of itself is its very own reward. And I would say, don't get discouraged if you don't get the recognition, or, another thing I would say is probably don't even go out of your way looking for the recognition. If you're doing the right things, and you're making an impact on people's lives, that's really what this is about. But there are some awards that you can earn. Some of them are membership keys. So membership keys would be, if you're getting people into Lions and you recruit a number of them, you may get recognized that way. As you start accumulating years in Lions, you'll get your chevrons, which just signify how long you've been a Lion consecutively. There's some sponsor recognition that you get. So if you're sponsoring members, there's some awards there. There's some extension awards and presidential medals and things like that. Certainly, again, when you're looking at your fundraising and your service activities, a lot of that stuff is going to kind of come into play and get you guys geared up for things like that. So on to membership, and we've kind of hit on this a couple of different ways, but what are the benefits of being a Lion?
To me, it's an opportunity to help someone. I do volunteer, and I used to volunteer for other organizations, and it's just fun to really help someone. And even though I am visually impaired, there are things that I can help with, and I do enjoy that.
Absolutely. Helping others, it's what it's all about. And the nice thing about being in a Lions Club in particular is that you have friendship and fellowship with other service-minded individuals. And so often you can be discouraged, how can I change the world? I'm only one person. If you stop and think about it, that's how the world changes, is one person. And when you get together with 28 of your closest friends, certainly that's a force to be reckoned with. And then you expand that out to the district, which is roughly 1,000 members, and then the multiple district, which is probably pushing around 9,000, and then international. So it just kind of layers, and we do more and more. So what other ways what other benefits are there of being a Lion?
You get to help out the community, and they benefit from your service. Also, one thing that I think is different or unique about our club compared to other clubs in Michigan is that we're mostly made up of people who are blind and visually impaired, and so we're not letting our disability limit us from helping out people. We're doing what we can do to use.
Yeah, no, I mean, focusing on the second half of that word, ability. And you know, yes, you may serve differently and you may have some limitations that sighted people don't, but with that loss of one of your senses, it makes you more focused and possibly even better in the other areas. And
Mhm.
so, you know, certainly, you guys are fully capable of being a club. And when you look at the opportunities that present yourself, you know, it's funny that we've been the Knights of the Blind for over 100 years, well, just about 100 years now. And our our organization in and of itself is not very user friendly for visually impaired. So
Mhm.
that's certainly something that this club has the ability to change and really be the ones that say, okay, let's practice what we preach. Um, you know, so being part of a global community for good, providing support and tools and resources to enhance your service, leadership development opportunities. And so there's opportunities at the club level, at the district level, and state level where you can get additional training. And that training is good. It's not just Lions specific training. These are tools and techniques that'll help you out in your personal and professional life. You know, we talked about the satisfaction and joy you get from helping those in need. And one of the things that you guys are experiencing very closely is the opportunity to network, not only within your local community, but within the international community, and to access leaders. And you know what a blessing it is for you guys to have Jesse as part of your club. You look at the other clubs in Michigan who don't have that virtual component, and
Mhm.
you know we're somewhat stuck. You know, not saying that people in Michigan are bad, but you're not having that opportunity to interact with others the way that your club does. So very cool situation that you guys are in. Your meetings, you know, you guys are all over it. I know that Lindsay fires out emails and says, hey, this is this meeting on this day, and this committee is meeting on this day and time. And so certainly, you know, making sure that you're staying on top of your email, staying engaged, and looking for those opportunities when and where you can serve. The due structure, you know, when it comes to dues, uh, you look at what Lions provides, and it's really a very good deal. You know, I know oftentimes people say, well, I can volunteer on my own, and that's absolutely true. You can. But when you volunteer under the Lions umbrella, you actually get some personal protection liability for your events and things like that. You get all kinds of, you know, tools to help you really serve better and more effectively. So, you know, dues, they can be structured in a manner where they're prohibitive, but really when we looked at the way that your club is handling dues and things like that, we tried to make sure that it was not prohibitive of anybody joining. There is going to be activities budget, and there's going to be administrative budget. And again, with your club just kind of getting going, a lot of these things are still going to work their way out. You know, technically you guys haven't even been in club a year. And so you're still writing a lot of these chapters to this orientation. Any questions kind of on the overarching framework of Lions or your club specifically?
I have a question related to membership, but what's when you're trying to get someone else to become a member, what's the like best way to go around that doing that? Because I tried to get someone to join. A friend of mine who was out in California, and she it was probably just her take on it, but she came to the last general meeting we had, and she thought it was kind of boring.
All right, so let's address the elephant in the room. Boring meetings. if you bring a lion to a regular meeting or to a board meeting, more often than not, that'll be the response that you get, David. Just
Okay,
being frank with you and throwing that out there. It's tough to have a lively meeting where you're talking about how the clock is built rather than the time.
right,
The best way that you're going to get people interested in lions is through a service project.
okay,
So as your club begins having meetings to serve others, or if there's an opportunity where you're bringing in a really good presentation or something like that that's talking about service, that's where you're really going to get people. It's funny. So Esther Lamoth, she's past international director out of
okay,
Jensen Eye Openers, and she took a friend to a what was it? It was a zone meeting, and they were good friends. And when they left, her friend said, "Esther, what did I ever do to you?" And she says, "Excuse me?" She says, "Why on earth did you take me there to be tortured like that?" You know, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but
mhm,
it's certainly, you know, when you're looking at lions, you know, to your friend, having a conversation, because you're going to know what's important to your friend,
right,
and you're going to know, you know, what she would be interested in, and you know, if it's serving visually impaired or things like that, saying, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, talking about how you guys are involved with Leader Dog. I know that we're working on getting more aligned with the club and Leader Dog, looking for those opportunities to really give her perspective as to what we're doing, because yeah.
and I told her, excuse me, I told her that we're a fairly new club as well.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things. You know, look for ways to have fun with it. Like I said, you know, what are Lions to me? We're the farm league for the Detroit Lions.
Mhm,
How do I get people to join? I have lots of guns, and a little bit of caution never hurt anybody, you know. So
okay,
it's just it's having fun with it.
yeah,
And you know, even putting the question back to her, like, you know, what would help give your life some meaning? You know, are there things that you're wanting to do that perhaps you don't know how to do on your own, or things like that? And you know, I think those would be the ways, but certainly looking for funner events.
okay,
You know, that would kind of be my recommendation to you.
all right, thank you, that helps give me some more insight since I'm still kind of new to all this.
Yeah. Yeah, Roger B, either one of you guys have any input on the you know, the boring meetings, or how to get folks to join?
Yeah, I'll go. So I know that when I talk to people about lions, of course, you know, I've had the benefit of having some experiences. You know, and winter camp is one of them. And when you talked about when you became a lion, you know, that was sort of, I had a couple of things that sort of were times when I became a lion, or I could look at. And so, you know, I try to express a lot of positivity about the benefits of being a lion, and most of it is, you know, the satisfaction of serving others, and the fun that we have or try to have when we are doing service. So, you know, and even at meetings, we try to be kind of lighthearted, and um, don't take ourselves too seriously. You know, and we do have a tail twister that you know, he does mostly happy bucks. I mean, I don't think anybody could compare it to Chris Lake as far as being
No.
a tail twister. but um, but anyway, so I just try to express a real positive attitude about it, and the things that I've been able to experience through being a lion. And one of those, and David mentioned leadership development. One of the things that I did early on was I went to it was a national, well, it was a U.S. Canada thing called an ELLI. It was an Emerging Lions Leadership Institute. So it was a weekend, and it was like drinking the Kool-Aid of lions. Is the way I, you know, it was like You know, they had seminars and they had, you know, workshops and they had banquets and they had, you know, just a lot of fun. And so that was like, I came back all fired up about being a Lion. And, you know, it's sort of tried to carry that on. But I get involved in a lot of things, and I probably have a tendency to not say no enough. But you know, the things that I've been able to do have helped me grow as a person and as a leader. And so, you know, there's a lot of things to take advantage of in the Lions, and it's not just doing service, but you can take classes and courses that will help you become a better person in any of your life, you know, like your business life, your professional life, your relationships with others. There's whole lots of resources within Lions, and so it's, you know, it is you know, an amazing organization, I think. So I try to express that to people when I talk to them.
Yeah. B or Jim, either one of you guys have anything you'd like to share?
I think the big thing that you guys are going to have to figure out is how to make it more enthusiastic. But I think part of that comes with, just like Roger was saying, talking about some of your experiences that you've had with service projects that you've done. Like, you might do something that isn't with your Lions Club, but you could still represent your Lions Club by doing it, as long as you've talked it over with the leadership of your club. And then you can talk to people about why you're doing it. You're doing it as a Lion. You're not doing it as somebody who, well, what is Lions? And then you can tell them a little bit about Lions and just share with them about how thrilled you are be a Lion, to serve and to do the kinds of things that you would like to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jim?
I would say, you know, as you bring your new people, let them have an idea. See if they have an idea of some project you can do. You know, you never know. We had a member join our club in Vandercook a few years back, and he said, "Why don't we do a car show?" So we started doing a car show 4 years ago, and our fourth one is coming up here next month. And it's morphed into, it's more like a community car show, because now we have the school involved, we have the library, local library involved, we have one of the churches involved, the Girl Scouts are involved helping out. So you can do things together. It doesn't have to be with other Lions, it can be with other groups, and you can do things with other Lions clubs too. They can help you out with things.
Yeah.
But listen, you know, bring your new people in and listen, because they may have an idea for you never thought of. It may work, it may not work, you know.
Yeah, no, all great ideas, everybody who chimed in here, and you know, just having a little bit of fun with it. So don't be afraid to rely on other people's experiences, David, until you get some more of your own. If you have someone who's close and you're not exactly sure how to get them to see the benefit of it, you know, for you, it was easy. It was an easy transition. You had been to winter camp for the blind and you had leader dogs. And so, I mean, there was a lot of interactions that weren't direct interactions with Lions, but you had an understanding. And so relying on people like me, B, Roger, you know, Jim, things like that, to where we can share stories about Lions and things like that. And, you know, it's funny. I've got 7 kids. That's not funny. That's a little bit stressful. But so my wife doesn't get to go to many meetings with me. And so one night we got a babysitter, and she's going to a Lions Club meeting in Saginaw here. I wound up becoming an associate member of this club.
Okay.
And, I had never been to a meeting before, and we pull up to the location, and the outdoor sign, this is what it reads: topless waitresses, free beer. Now, there is a third line on the sign, I will tell you, neither my wife or I saw it. She says, "Oh, so this is what you do all night at Lions clubs," and I'm like probably as red as a Coke can, and I'm hemming and hawing like, well, no wonder why their club is growing so fast. And the third line said false advertising, and so yes, they truly did not have topless waitresses and free beer, but it was one of those things. I mean, you saw the sign and right away you were there. But again, those opportunities that B mentioned, to where perhaps you're not serving in an official Lions capacity, like it's not a club event, but it is something where you're helping. And so I'm going to share a quick story with you guys. It's just a real quick digression here from where we're at, but I think this may tie it all together.
Can I make a quick comment real quick? I also benefited from the Lake Orion Lions Club and getting to know the people there, because they helped me out when I was going to college.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. If you get people to realize Clear Lake may be writing its book right now, and there's not a whole lot to kind of share with people, there's going to be a lot more, but drawing on those other experiences that they perhaps have with Lions. And so one of those experiences that I'll share with you, where I wasn't serving in a Lions role, but I can share this in Lions and it fits perfectly. So on May 20th, I was in charge of a large shooting event. We had 130 competitors from around the globe. It was here in Saginaw, Michigan, and the competitor that traveled the farthest had come from Austria. So kind of a big deal. And one of the things that I was able to do is I invited an acquaintance that I met. We've become friends, but his name is Major Jonathan Turnbull. And Major Turnbull enlisted in the United States Army soon after graduating high school in Gaylord, Michigan, 2005. He was deployed once to Afghanistan, twice to Jordan, once to Lebanon, and then in 2018, he deployed to Iraq with a follow-on assignment to Syria. Throughout his career, Turnbull and his team were involved in several missions that enhanced the quality of life for those living in war-torn areas. They enabled the system to allow 4,000 girls to return to school after 7 years of ISIS prohibition. They helped rebuild a local hospital and even renovated a hydroelectric dam in Syria, which restored power to about 450,000 people in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Jordan. On 2019, Turnbull and his team were visiting a school to perform a wellness check and ensure that they were not being denied access to their education. As they were leaving the school, an ISIS suicide bomber ran up to Turnbull and his team, detonating the vest. There were 4 casualties, and 3 other Americans, including Turnbull, was seriously injured. Turnbull suffered a complete nucleation of his right eye and a puncture to his left eye. He spent 20 months in the hospital, had 20 surgeries, life-saving surgeries, and clocked in countless hours of rehab. Now, I share his story with you because him and I have become friends, and I invited him to the shooting event so he could talk to the competitors. We were heading into Memorial Day, and he subsequently lost his left eye as well. So Major Turnbull is now completely blind, and he went from being attached to a special forces unit to living in that world of darkness. And so I had talked to him ahead of time, and I had asked him if he'd be interested in shooting. And he said, absolutely. So we went to the range, and I told him, all right, Major, you're 7 yards away from the target. The target's 5 feet tall. It's right at your 12 o'clock. And he brought his gun up. And I said, okay, come up about 6 inches, fire. And he shot, and it was low. And so we did that exercise, go up, okay, go left, go up. And I finally got him in there, and he threw 4 shots right into the bullseye, completely blind. And for me, that was one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. He left with the biggest grin on his face that I've ever seen. And, that's something where it wasn't directly a Lions thing, but you talk about my passion for competitive shooting, helping someone who's now blind do something he enjoyed. And that's a story that I can share about what does Lions do. Now, it was not a club event. It was not a, hey, this is what we're doing for Lions, but those are the things that you share with your friend, that these are the impact that Lions are making in people's lives. And so he's a remarkable person. He's gonna go out for competitive shooting. There's a event, and gosh, I can't think of the name for it. But it's coming up, and it's a competitive event, and it was designed basically for amputees. And so a battle buddy. So his friend had said, hey, are you interested in Battle Buddy? And he said, what is it? And he said, yep, I'm interested. So he called Battle Buddy and he said, hey, have you ever had a blind person do it? And they laughed and they said, no, that sounds very dangerous. And apparently apparently a blind person shooting guns is not thought of very often. And he said, well, what if I can show you I can do it safely? And so he right now is leading the edge, and he's got this event coming up. And so he's hoping to kind of open that sport up to others that are blind.
Wow.
So, those are
that's awesome.
Yeah. Those are the sorts of stories to where you can share, to where maybe you're not in a direct Lions role, but if there's something you're doing in your life, David, that you share with your friend, you bring them in, and then you rely on the experiences of others to really to nail it home for you.
Okay, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. All right. Any questions before we get jumping back in here? All right. Let me all right. So the organizational structure, everything kind of starts with the club, and then it fans out to the state. The state of Michigan has what's called the multiple district. Can anybody guess why we're called the multiple district?
Because we have the Upper Peninsula.
Close. So the Upper Peninsula is actually its own area. That is called SD10. SD10 stands for single district 10. We are in MD 11, which is multiple district 11. So you were on the right path though. So multiple
counties.
Correct. So
okay.
the different districts are represented by the various counties. 11B1, where you guys are at, is represented by 6 counties. Think basically Battle Creek to the border, and Ann Arbor to the border. So those 6 counties, that is where 11B1 is located. Each district, they typically have about 35 clubs in them. There's roughly 750 districts. There's at least about 1,200 members in the majority of districts. Each district is going to have a district governor. Does anybody know who our governor is for this year?
Kelly Loop.
Yep, Kelly Loop. Yeah. Yep. So Kelly's term is winding down here. She's got like 22 more days of being governor, and then she'll step into the role which is called immediate past district governor. So the immediate past district governor, if there was ever like a sniper attack and they took out our district governor, maybe an angry Kiwanis or Rotary person or something like that, then Kelly, okay, now a little bit of humor there. So Kelly would step back into the role, but seriously, during my year, I became sick with COVID, and so I was out of commission for a little bit. And between the immediate past district governor, who was Mike Scott, and the first vice district governor, who was Terry Hoffman, they stepped in and filled the role for those weeks where I was hospitalized. So, multiple districts are formed by 2 or more districts within a territory. It's kind of funny when you think about, doing visits in the Upper Peninsula. I mean, in some of those, they're like taking flights to get where they're going, and like really long trips. Us, with the 6 counties, not so bad. And obviously with Zoom nowadays, it's a little bit easier. The district leadership, as I mentioned, you've got a district governor, you've got a first vice district governor, a second vice district governor, a cabinet secretary, cabinet treasurer, district chairpersons. 11B1 typically doesn't have the district zone persons, the district chairs, simply because there's just not really that many people who are looking to volunteer in that role. But it is an option out there. Some of the larger districts do. We've got zone chairs. We got a council of governors, and we've got the global action team. So there's a lot of acronyms just out of this slide alone. So district governor is often referred to as DG. First vice district governor is either going to be FVDG or VDG. Second vice district governor, again, would be either second VDG or SVDG. Cabinet secretary is CS. Cabinet treasurer is CT. District chairperson is DC. Zone chairperson is ZC. I'm pretty sure at some point I yelled Scrabble or Yahtzee or something. Council of Governors is COG. Global Action Team is GAT, GAT. And then you've got the Global Membership Team, so the GMT. The Global Leadership Team, GLT. The GST. And if ever you are at a loss, just throw a couple letters together and you have a new acronym out there. So especially, with the newer clubs, newer Lions, if you go in and say, yeah, the DG and the Z and the ZC were with the GMT, people are going to look at you like you are just crazy. So, be cognizant of your audience. And even some of the Lions who have been Lions for a very long time, they're unfamiliar with all of these acronyms. I had a Lion who had been a Lion for 50 years. And when I came to my own club as a zone chair, he said, David, can you explain all these alphabet soup to me? And so that's what we did, is we just tried to make sense, because oftentimes you get the district newsletter or something from international and it's just acronym soup. And so, I think we got enough time in our life to say district governor as opposed to DG. So, just kind of go from there. So within the district is going to have its own events. They'll have training events, whether it's a zone event or a leadership forum, like what 11B1 does. We just wrapped up our district convention. So our district convention is a time for Lions to gather from around the district. You'll have district guests who come from outside. Just a time for some fellowship and camaraderie, share stories, best practices, ask questions if you guys are facing particular challenges. We'll conduct general district business at the district convention. And then that's also where we elect the district governor. And so, we do follow Chicago rules. We were founded in Chicago, so vote early, vote often. Joking. There's only so much voting you can do. So yeah, that's it about there. The district and multiple district are going to communicate to you guys in a number of ways. There's Facebook pages, there's emails, there's websites, there's newsletters. You guys are probably inundated with things. And so as a newer Lion, just realize that sometimes it feels like you're trying to get a sip of water through a fire hydrant. And if you ever feel that way, that's where, Roger B and I, Jim, any of the older, more experienced Lions come in and say, hey, these are the things that we took a look at. And, I just know in my life, I could spend all day, every day reading various things from Lions, but it's just not very practical for my schedule. And so I just kind of pick and choose, and a lot of skim reading or listening and kind of going from there. Any questions on the district?
Excuse me, this is Roger. Just never be afraid to ask a question.
Yeah, Yeah,
There are no dumb questions, only good ones. So don't be afraid. I know William called me one day and asked about some stuff he was doing and whether or not that counted as service. And my answer to him was, "You bet it does," because it was with Leader Dog, and everything he was describing to me was just exactly what a person ought to be doing. Especially in your capacity and as being a liaison for them with the public. That's perfect. So there's all sorts of ways that you guys can do service. It's a little more of a challenge with a virtual club because you're not together, but you can do it individually, and it still counts for the club. So that's sorry, I'm losing my voice. Something happened.
It's all that cheering you're doing while you're on mute. Yes, David. Yes, that's exactly right. But no, never a dumb question, and looking for any opportunities that you can to to serve, and again, looking for various ways that you guys want to serve. And again, that's where you're coming together as a club and saying, okay, we are geographically separated. How can we do a service project? And maybe the service project is each individual or group of individuals conduct the same service project in their own area. Maybe it's an online service project where you host an online event. Maybe like they've been doing a lot of wine tastings or baking classes or things like that, and you're the folks that are marketing it and getting people to attend. During COVID, the Leos for 11B1, I helped them do a service project where they were doing eye remediation and eye testing virtually. So a lot of different things that can be done. So that's it for the multiple district and the district. And so we'll jump ahead. We're on the home stretch here. Does anybody want a break, or do you guys want to push on through?
Push on through.
Let's go on.
All right. Well, if you guys need to run to the bathroom or whatever, get some food, get a beer to make it more interesting, definitely be my guest. So as we get international, this is where they stuck the history piece in. And so I will not bore you guys with all of that again, because we hit all of those things. The name and logo. So the official name of the association is the International Association of Lions Club. Oftentimes it's simply called Lions Club International, but our full name is the International Association of Lions Clubs. The name Lions was chosen on a secret ballot over several others because Lions stood for strength, courage, fidelity, and vital action. The Lions logo consists of a gold L on a blue field surrounded by a gold circle. On either side of the circle is a profile picture of a lion's head, one looking back and one looking forward. Does anybody know why they're facing in the directions?
I know the answer, but I can't think of it.
No.
All right. If this was a game show, I think this is where you phone a friend and then you say, David, why is that? And I would tell you, the one looking backwards is a proud reflection upon our past. And so we're looking to the things that we've done since 1917. And that should pretty well give you the answer for why the one is facing the opposite direction. It's optimistically looking towards the future. And so, it's one of those things, as dire as the world may feel at times, and as hopeless as you may feel at particular moments about humanity and the course of the world, it's our job to be optimistic and to change the world to make it the place that we want it to be. The international officers implement policy and they serve as inspirational leaders for the world's lions. Does anybody know who our international president is?
Not really.
It's Brian Sheehan.
Yeah,
Brian Sheehan, good job. Brian also has just a little bit of time left before he becomes our immediate past international president. Does anyone know who our vice president is?
Patty Hill.
Patty Hill. And then our second vice president, I guess we'll stop on each one. So Brian Sheehan, Brian is from Bird Island, Minnesota. The immediate past international president is currently Douglas Alexander. And Douglas, he is from Brooklyn. Dr. Patty Hill, she is from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Who is our second vice president? Anybody? Fabricio Oliveira. He is from Catahoula do Rocha, which is in Brazil. And then we have AP Singh as our international third vice president, and he is from Kota, India. So that is what we've got there. Let's see.
David, do you happen to know things? So the international convention is coming up in Boston.
Correct.
In July, early July. As far as like policy, do you know what they're going to be looking at in terms of any changes?
You know, I haven't seen that we were voting on anything specific at this one. You know, the big to do last year was the dues increase, which did pass. And it's kind of that graduated thing. I haven't seen anything really controversial or anything like that was coming up. Looks like it's just kind of more of a formality, getting the people to move up and then getting the new directors and stuff in.
Right. Okay. International conventions are very interesting.
Yeah, and they are open to any Lions Club members. So if you guys ever want to go, definitely, you know, you could look and see if anybody from the local area is going. You can kind of tag along with them. Not necessarily always the easiest places to get to. This year is in Boston, so not too terribly far. For the Centennial and 2017, they did have that in Chicago. But they're all over the world. Actually, the year I was inducted as governor, I was supposed to go to Singapore, but with COVID, I did not get the opportunity to go to Singapore. So, all right. The International Board of Directors is the governing body of the association. There are 34 members. If you're ever bored and you need some light reading, the International Constitution and Bylaws are a great read. It gives you the operations of the association and establishes the rules which the association is to function. And so, you know, if you were ever having questions about, you know, something going on in the club and, you know, is it right? You know, you'd want to look to our code of ethics, to our purposes, and then to the bylaws. And, you know, Clear Lake, you guys do have your own bylaws. You've got your own constitution committee, and certainly they would, you know, go over that stuff with you. As Roger mentioned, the International Convention is very much like the district convention, just on a much grander scale. There's also a multiple district convention and state forum and things like that. And it's really just about bringing people from around the state, the counties, the world together for a week or a couple days of business, education, celebration, and fellowship. Does anyone know where our headquarters is at?
Schaumburg, Illinois.
Close. It's in Illinois. Not
Brookville.
Oak Brook.
Oak Brook,
Brook.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You were close. You were all around
Yeah,
it.
it's close for you.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
If it was Battleship, you were close.
Oh.
So yeah, there's approximately 275 staff members in 11 divisions. The divisions are convention, district and club administration, finance, information technology, leadership development, legal, Lions Club International Foundation, marketing, membership, member operations and support, and service activities. And so, again, if you have questions, those are the folks that we use as our team. So when you guys throw a question that perhaps, me, B, Roger, Jim, that we're not familiar with, we reach out to those folks there and say, hey, we just got a question that we don't understand, help us out. And that is what they do. So they're open for tours and things like that. If you're ever in the Schaumburg, Oak Brook, Chicago area and you want to stop out there and say hi. I do know that that's changed a little bit because of COVID. And so you would just want to check with them ahead of time before you showed up, wanting a bunch of stuff. Lions Club International Foundation, that is our own personal foundation. As I mentioned earlier, it was founded in 1968. And really the purpose behind that was to empower the service of Lions. The foundation provides grant funding for large-scale humanitarian projects. It relies on donations, not just from Lions, but from anyone who is interested in what we do. To date, more than $1 billion in grants have been awarded. And amidst the most ambitious fundraising campaign in history, that was kind of really kicked off with Campaign 100 surrounding the centennial. And so a lot of different things that they're trying to do there. You may see some solicitations to donate. You may hear about the Melvin Jones Fellow. Melvin Jones Fellow is not an award. It is a recognition for anybody who contributes $1,000 to Lions Club International Foundation. And you get recognized as a Melvin Jones Fellow. There is a special breakfast at the International Convention that is available only to the Melvin Jones Fellows. If you go to the home office there, to our headquarters, you will see all of the Melvin Jones recipients on a wall there. So something cool. If you want more information on that, happy to let you know. During our 50 years of impact, more than $120 million has been in disaster relief funding. There's been 16 million served by Lions Quest. 9.1 million cataract surgeries have been performed, and millions of children around the globe have been vaccinated against measles. Lions Club International provides training and development opportunities for Lions. And again, that's one of the things that you've heard both Roger and I mention, the opportunities that are there. And so whether you want to spend a weekend up at Higgins Lake and interact with Lions from around the state of Michigan, or you're looking for something a little bit closer to home and doing some district training, lots of different things that are out there. And so the Global Leadership Team, that's one of the acronyms, GLT, not to be mistaken with BLT. BLTs are delicious, GLTs are training. And so the driving force there, they offer Emerging Lions Leadership Institutes, and that's the one that Roger had mentioned. Advanced Lions Leadership Institute, Faculty Development Institutes, Regional Lions Leadership Institutes, District Governor-elect Seminar, Multiple District Leadership Development Funding, Global Leadership Team District Funding Support Programs, webinars, the Lions Learning Center, and the Lions Certified Instructor Program. So there is a lot of different opportunities for you to get involved. The nice thing about Lions is you can make it whatever you want to. So if you want to be a professional Lions and you want every moment of every day to be involved with Lions, great. If you're a working professional and you want to be involved, but you have some parameters on what you can do, absolutely, you can structure Lions into your life. When it comes to service activities, I had mentioned that there was the 5 pillars of Lions. That was something that came about for our second century of service. Does anybody know what those 5 service pillars are? Bueller? Bueller? All right, I'll help you guys out here. So, we know that vision is one of them, and that was when Helen Keller had charged us to be Knights of the Blind there. But we also have 4 others. And so we have diabetes, hunger, environment, and childhood cancer, pediatric cancer. So those are the 5 service areas. With those 5 pillars as a club, you look and say, what do we want to be involved in? And you kind of look to see if it falls into one of those categories, but it doesn't necessarily need to. And so, for instance, when you look at Jackson Host, we do things for the youth in the community. So we support our kindergarten roundup. We work together with the Boy Scouts, the John George Friendly Home, and various different things that if you look at the list, perhaps it doesn't necessarily fit neatly into one of those 5 buckets. But the great thing is we're Burger King, right? And so it's our club, our way. And so as you as a club are coming together and identifying the areas that you want to focus on, those are, plenty of ideas for you to get going. And if you're looking at, how do we serve in these areas? What are some things that we can do? That's where your mentors come in and say, hey, we're happy to help you out and brainstorm with you and throw out some best practices. But again, you have to select what's going to work for your members. And going back to David, to what you said earlier, like how do you attract members and how do you get them engaged? Asking them, what do you want to be involved in? Great. If you want to be involved in underwater basket weaving and you're ready to spearhead it, sign us up. We're ready to go. Recruiting new members into your club. That's one of the things that you have to do to stay a healthy club. Where you see Lions clubs kind of fold is if there's not a lot of activity. And so if there's not a lot of activity, then all of the tasks fall onto just a few people. And that is a very easy way to burn them out. And no matter how much they love Lions, if it's becoming overwhelming, they're going to step back. And so when it comes to recruiting new members into your club, you ensure that there's that continual influx of enthusiastic members. As Jim had mentioned, you want to get them involved. If you get someone to your club and you do not get them involved, they're going to leave. They came to you because they want to be involved, because they want to do service, because they want to do things. And if you don't give them that opportunity, or if you don't listen to them, maybe it's something you guys tried in the past and it didn't work, and they're saying, hey, let's do it again. If you don't listen to them, again, it's one of those things where if I'm not feeling valued, I will leave. You're looking to serve those in need and identify new service that can be done in the community. Membership programs that help stimulate growth and foster quality memberships include family memberships. So you're getting discounts if a husband and wife join, or any family relationship. For students, they get a discounted rate. Leo to Lion. So if you're looking to convert the folks that have been brought up in the way of Lions ever since youth. Now, I will share with you the conversion rate from Leo to Lion is abysmal. It's very, very poor. And that's sad because those people should be very easy pickings there. Lions Worldwide Induction Day. It's kind of a day where, everybody shoots to be part of, a lot of Lions join. Leo's Club and club branches. And so, even if you guys were looking at starting a Leo club, looking at some of the institutes and the schools for the blind and partnering with them, and kind of getting them involved in Lions very early. Thinking unconventionally, and I'm going to kind of draw on Clear Lake here. So I was offered the opportunity by Roger and the committee to come out to a winter camp for the blind as governor. And, you know, I laid the challenge out to the campers that, you know, hey, you guys are Lions Club, you just don't know it yet. And, you know, fast forward and here we are. And it was funny because after I put that challenge out there was a lot of reasons that this club wasn't going to exist. But the reason that the club wasn't going to exist were people putting barriers up that may or may not have existed. And so, you know, for us to come back and to give you guys an opportunity and say, hey, is this something you want to do? And look at where we're at today. In addition, you know, you want to look to form new clubs to serve the new and the underserved area. And so when you look at the various types of Lions clubs that are out there, you have traditional Lions clubs, campus Lions clubs, which meet on universities, the Leo Lions, which meet in high schools. The Lioness doesn't exist anymore. And then you have specialty Lions clubs, and you guys would be considered a specialty Lions club because you do meet virtually. As far as communications from international, you have the Lions magazine, email messages, the website lionsclub.org, and then there's a Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube page. So those are kind of the highlights from orientation there from an international standpoint. Any questions?
I understand that Lions Club International is switching over to using Salesforce. Do you know any more information about that?
I have not heard anything about the Salesforce conversion. That's new to me. Roger B, do you guys know anything about that?
B, do you know, or do you? I can go ahead. She's on mute right now. So, so the Salesforce is going to be a new. I guess they're
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roger.
They're referring to it as a portal, and they really haven't shared a lot of information about it.
Okay.
But it's going to be a situation where it will be a different way for people to access the tools on the Lions website. And I don't know anything about Salesforce.
I've been taking a trade class with Lion Institute of Technology. It's a complex tool, but a lot of businesses use it. And Lion, Jesse, and I have talked a little bit about it.
I remember him making a comment that the fact that you've been taking some training in that would be helpful for us. And quite honestly, David, it might be helpful for a lot of people because there's a lot of nervousness about it, you know, but they just really haven't shared anything. That what they plan to do, they say, is to start rolling it out in July. So how that impacts clubs now is that they want everybody to have all their reporting done by the end of June and no later than July 15th. And so any updates into the system need to be done by then. And that means like ads or drops, you know, officers, emails, they are requiring that anybody that uses the system needs to have a unique email.
Right.
So, I mean, we have a lot of members in Clear Lake that don't even use email. So that sort of, unless they would get an email or start using email, they wouldn't be able to utilize the system very well. And I'm not sure exactly what that means in terms of limitation. But I'm assuming to sign into it, to get into the different, some of the different tools, you might not be able to do that. So that's one of those things that they say stuff, but you don't really know exactly what it means. B, do you have any input?
I don't.
So we're they have some updating, they have on their website, they have some pages that are updating. And so I've kind of been trying to keep my eye on that, but I haven't seen much lately. So
yeah, I'm aware of how you make a new user in Salesforce. You have to have a username and an email address, and they have to be different. And then you also put in your first and last name, and it generates an alias.
Okay.
Good.
They used to be able to use your telephone number as a way to get into Lions Club International, but apparently that is no
Oh.
longer available.
Interesting.
All right, what other questions do you guys have? All right, well, our past as Lions has been defined by our service, and our future will be too. Certainly, I hope you guys found tonight useful to learn a little bit more about Lions, a little bit more about your club. And if nothing else, this is certainly not the end of your Lions education, just the beginning. And, try to have a little bit of fun with it and cover as much as we can without making your eyeballs spin. Certainly we're happy to jump back on again at a future date after you guys have had a chance to digest this and to, dig into perhaps some specifics as you continue to work towards, building out Clear Lake and writing those chapters on the history and the awards and the focus. We're all glad to be part of this team, and anything that we can do to make sure you're successful, we're happy to do. A decent turnout tonight, but obviously you guys are going to have to share this message with the folks who were unable to make it tonight, and kind of go from there. So with that, B, do you want to kind of take us home here?
I think you guys have a good backbone. You've had a good cadre of guiding lions to help you. David, I don't care what the district says, you're still considered a guiding lion in my opinion. So, and you've got all of us that you can rely on for answers to your questions. I think the thing to remember is that it's a lot to take in when you hear the stuff at your orientation. I remember feeling that way. You almost have to learn it by actually doing things in Lions. And then that's when you realize all the things that you learned about Lions could help you. So just remember that. It is a bit overwhelming, but you guys will be fine.
Jim, any parting wisdom?
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, being new at this game, but I would say in this club's case, just listen to what everybody does and learn from what you're listening to, because you can pick up tips from people that may know what's going on and learn that way,
All right, Lindsay, the floor is yours again, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much, David, and to all of you for coming on this evening, to all of our guiding lions. I will be sending out the recording from tonight's members orientation to everyone. And if anyone still has questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we will be happy to answer them as best as what we possibly can.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. Hope
Thank
guys
you.
have a great night, and look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Have your bus to everyone, Colin.
Thank you.
And everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
David, so much.
Bye-bye.
You
You're
done a
welcome.
good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In terms of the PC.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for coming.
Okay, everybody take care now. Good night.
You too. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Yeah,
William?
that's pretty, Yes, that was pretty good. I had fun.